got you.
Yeah, everything's on there.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Got a good crowd here tonight. That's nice. This is the regular meeting of the Clear Creek Community Services District for October 19th, 2022, beginning at 6 p.m., right on the money. And the call to order is the announcement of the date, which I just did for the benefit of the recording, and also to indicate that we have with us this evening Board Member Chuck Jones, Vice Chairman, Patricia Delzell, Scott McVeigh, and Board Member Terneri is ill and she will not be here this evening. So the second item on the agenda is, oh, by the way, we have Bill Mesa here also, who is the interim general manager. And the next item on the agenda is open time.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, Pledge of Allegiance, sorry, I'll go ahead of myself. And Vice Chairman Jones will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody was pretty much in unison on that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is open time. And pursuant to Government Code S54950, persons wishing to address the Board of Directors on matters not listed on the agenda should notify the Secretary prior to the start of the meeting. Do we have anyone that has notified you? No one? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak?
Yeah.
During open time, please come up and
I want to
do
make
so.
a report on our Firewise meeting, October the 13th. I had been to a workshop at Shasta College on mitigating fire hazards on this property, and it was very informative. And one of the CAL FIRE inspectors was there, and then Dennis brought a speaker that was a retired fire battalion captain, and he gave us quite a report on post-fire inspections and stuff. That was when he ended up going in after the fires and figuring out the houses that survived and what caused some of the houses to burn. A lot of them were older houses, especially in that hill fire, and that other one there in Weed, because of the older construction. And also, with the new building codes, they still lost a lot on the Lake Siskiyou. We're gonna have one more meeting in November, and then we'll take December off because of the holidays. Everybody's gonna be real busy with other activities and traveling and stuff, so. If any of you haven't been to one of our Firewise meetings, you're welcome to come. We have it at the community hall, and our main goal is to try and prevent fires out here.
When's the next one, Sandy?
Well, we were just talking about it a while ago. Dennis is gonna be on vacation for 2 weeks, and so probably right after Thanksgiving, if Carrie can let us book the hall.
Okay.
So I'll get the information out ahead of time.
Okay, well, if it's after Thanksgiving, then it could be mentioned at this meeting.
Yeah,
in
it's
November.
Thursday the 24th, so maybe right after Thanksgiving, we'll try and have one more meeting. And then there won't be a meeting in December. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Please, yes, sir.
I've anticipated this for a few weeks. First, my name is Josh Eastman. I live on Andrea. I've been out here on my property out here for 9 years now, since 2013, June to be exact. And never had a problem. The water department has been the best that I've ever dealt with. I thank you guys for not shutting me off during the hard times and keeping everything going. I have my family out here. I'm married and 2 kids. Anyhow, to get to it,
I just recently discovered that I've been getting charged for 2 services for 9 years, on my bill. And I was told that, 2 years before I bought my property, that it was, the previous owner had a second residence or an RV on there that had hookups. There was it was a red tag, when I went to buy my house. That had all been removed before I bought my house, and I had paperwork showing so, and I had no idea. By looking at my bill, I would come in, I'd see my bill, I walk in the office there, I usually see the ladies at the desk, and I'm paying cash, most of the time, and I didn't know how to read the bill, I mean, other than it saying baseline. I brought my bill to even question it, and I'm not the only one, but it doesn't say like baseline times 2, there's no separate account number, there's no separate meter, there's no separate anything. I guess this whole time I've been paying double my bill for 9 years. I was told that I would be reimbursed, monies for this year and anything by a man named Bill. I do not know. So Bill, you're familiar with me, we spoke on the phone.
I believe so.
And, so I was told to, come here and address the board and see what, kind of goodwill or could be had for this, as I did not know. That I just, and maybe recommend that Bill's being maybe somewhat clear as to if I have 2 services, that it should maybe say times 2. I mean, I thought my bill was $110 baseline here recently. I paid it. I didn't know any different, because it doesn't say baseline times 2. It doesn't say 2 services. There's nowhere on there it says 2. So I just thought that was my water bill, and I found out it's $55 right now I've got an ag meter. So that's where I'm at with that, and I just wanted to see maybe what you guys can maybe do about this.
So the last time we spoke, we ended the conversation with, if you wanted to speak at the, or ask the board to forgive anything, we would have to write a letter. We have to have it on the agenda. And so that's, and perhaps I didn't make that super clear, but so this is during open time, and so the board will hear you, but they can't really.
We can't do anything about it right now.
Okay.
But you did speak to Bill about this.
Yes, I did.
And you are waiting for some formal action by Josh to put it on the agenda.
Correct.
Okay,
So I believe he's asking for 9 years?
Yeah, I just want what's right, I mean.
Sure.
So you'll work it out with Bill to get it on the agenda for next month.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll definitely do that. I apologize for not doing it sooner and bringing
It's
it
all
up
right.
in front of
We'll get it
everybody,
done.
but,
Get it done.
I have one question for Bill. Is there any benefit to this gentleman to have a second service, or since it was a real estate sale that was closed, and even if he wanted the second service for some reason, that would not be available to him? Is that correct? I'm assuming you have 1 meter?
I have one meter, one house.
Right.
That's all I have there.
There are customers who have 1 meter and 2 homes, and they are paying 2 times the base rate, 2 times the other items.
I can understand that, but I don't have anything like that.
Okay.
During drought years, he would have received a bigger allocation for having 2 homes.
Okay, have we visited the property too? Just, we have to do our due diligence, and make sure that there is only 1 home.
They did check it.
Okay,
He
excellent.
said that you guys, they told me that you went out there and even looked for yourself, and I came over showing that.
So-
It was an RV that was.
So there is a benefit.
Well, I don't know. I was just answering the
Where
question.
he could possibly have a double allocation if we were to drop it next year. Drop it. It does give you more water. So if you're on an M&I, you would get 40 units per month, but because you're paying for 2 homes, it gets you the additional 40. If that was a benefit to you, then you could stick with that. But, it's rather pricey to go that route. I'm not trying to.
Well, that's something that can be worked out between Josh and Bill.
Correct.
And it'll come back to the board in some form or another.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just want whatever is right. I mean,
Right.
if it turns out I owe or deserve less, then I guess so, I just want what's right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else? Anyone else that would care to speak? Yeah, Beverly.
Beverly Fitness, I would just like the consent agenda as far as the activity reports be pulled, so we can talk about it.
The activity
Pull
report.
the activity reports, okay, yeah, you can do that at that
I know, I
point,
just
but
wanted just
that's
to
fine.
ask.
I'm gonna pull them also. Anyone else care to speak at this time? If not, we will move on to the consent agenda. And the following items are expected to be routine. Any interested party may request an item be removed from the consent agenda for later discussion. Just request to pull the activity reports. Minutes from 3/21/22, 5/18/22, 9/21/22, paid bills from 9/21/22 to 10/14/22, payroll for 9/29/22 and 10/14/22, and the activity reports from 1/22 all the way to 6/22, for 6 months of 2022. And we'll pull those. Is there anyone else that cares to comment on the consent agenda and ask for perhaps something else to be removed for further discussion? Okay, if not, then we will pull the activity reports, and Beverly, you may want to have something to say about them?
Do we want to approve the consent agenda first?
Well, we can approve it afterwards, and then we can fold it in. Let's find out if there's a problem with it, then we would have
Well,
to do it
you've
separate.
already pulled the activity reports from the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
we pulled it from the consent agenda.
Right.
Well, we can fold it back in again.
I want to hear you guys first, because you may have the same questions I do, and then I'll address my concerns.
Okay. Well, I've got some questions about the activity report. It's nice to see the activity report come to us in a function that looks like it should look. But I'd like to ask Bill a couple of questions about the activity report. Now we'll refer to, really to the last one, the June of 2022. All of the domestic water sales, that is at the drought rate, right? That's the sales of water at the drought rate.
With the $1.21 at that time?
No, I think it's $1.04.
No, that's the current one. This is the prior fiscal year.
Oh, you're right, yeah, so it was 121.
So this is revenue coming in.
Right.
This is just, so as we receive money, it could have been from 2 years ago, this is how it's reported.
Does it include the $55 basic fee as well?
Well, if they were a year late, it wouldn't, it would be the 2194 or whatever the base rate was. Let's say they were in arrears.
It was 21 for a while, then it went to
Then
20.
that would be what it is.
But so that figure includes water sales at 121 per 100 cubic feet plus the 21 or 55
Yeah, that's,
base rate. But I don't know where else you'd have the base rate in here.
correct.
Yeah. And I noticed also that you had agricultural sales of $21,000. What was that? Did we get some, in early 22, we got some,
Prior to reclamation cutting us
Cutting
off.
us
I think
off. That's right, we did. We got a
April and
little bit.
March, we had a small
we
amount.
had a small amount from that.
Right.
Okay. And and I circled the penalty, exceeding allocation to $451,000. That's quite a bit. Somebody,
We provided an explanation on that number, I thought, earlier this year.
yeah,
So,
quite a bit. Anyway, I did see one thing about this. We apparently made money, so that was good. That's all I have on that. Is there anything that you had, Beverly? Would you?
Yeah, anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh,
if you don't
go
mind.
ahead, Scott.
I noticed that this is the end of the fiscal year. the June.
Correct.
So we're looking at annual things and comparing it to the year prior. I was looking at seeing how the healthcare and whatnot had gone down, but the contribution to PERS retirement went up. I was wondering about that.
Which
We
line
had
item?
fewer employees, but the PERS contribution went up.
Which line item?
Oh, you're talking about the first contribution?
Yeah, PERS contribution. We pay 7.47%. I looked at, year ending and last year to date. Where was that? I should have marked it. I had trouble finding it. My apologies for not having it marked, but that did kind of pop out at me late.
Oh, you mean the 285,000?
Right, it would be, there it is, OPEB, you've got your unemployment, workers' comp, disability, dental, OPEB, and then PERS contribution. We were, the prior year, 242,600 basically, and it jumped to 285,950. To end this, just this last fiscal year. So I was curious as to why with fewer employees, the contribution had gone up.
Retirees.
Yeah, I don't, on that line item, I don't know what's incorporated in that, because PERS has our pension, our healthcare.
Okay,
Can you get that information to?
so we're looking at possibly a
There's
result
no-
of fire manager,
If there's not a
field
line
office
item-
manager retirement?
If there's not a line item for retiree medical, so people are retired, right in there, so if there's not a line item for that, that would be included in that line item too.
Oh, okay, that
So-
would explain it.
Okay.
There's more people retired. Now, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, that
And that's
explains.
a bill from PERS.
Yes,
They change. Anything else? Anything from? Anything from you? Okay. Beverly?
Beverly Fickens. I'll just go to June, so if you can just find June and we can work back with that on the very first page. You know, it talks about penalties exceed, water allocation. So it is now currently 451,000. So that is how much the district has brought in from fines and penalties.
We provided an explanation on that number earlier this year, so.
Oh, okay,
I
refresh my
don't know,
memory.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I didn't come prepared to answer that tonight.
Okay. So the penalty, it's showing that in June, we brought in $65,000 on penalties. That just seems a little excessive. It also shows we have $451,000 in that.
Well, you understand that in June, we use more water, it's hotter. So the
But
penalties could go up.
I wouldn't think 65,000. The other thing though, in talking to Bill, these activity reports are so screwed up still. It's just,
Tell us where.
okay.
Want to know where.
Let's take, well, for one there, because there's no way that Bill's been reporting how much we've been accepting on penalties. It's more like 13,000 or some odd number.
if I can interject real quick, it's most likely that this is what was billed out, not collected.
That, well, I'm gonna argue that point with you because
Okay.
it's showing it received. But I
Well,
agree with
yeah,
you
it is
that,
still
I
received.
agree
I
with
understand
you
what you're saying.
that might be a possibility. If
It
you
is
take a
still
look,
received.
if you take a look at the merchant account on page 3 of that June, you're gonna see that we're still in the negative. Both Scott, Bill, and Christie all said we had a healthy amount in the merchant account, 300 to 400,000.
Would
So
you,
why?
address that?
That was off of the bank statements.
Yeah, so our response was straight out of the bank account, right off the screen. What's shown here is just the product of the screwed up software.
So you're right, there are a lot of issues in here.
So,
But when you actually have a bank statement that says X number of dollars in there at the end of the month, that's a little more believable than.
well, I wanted to see you guys see this, you know, that it's screwed up, so don't approve it. How can you approve something that, I don't know, I don't even know why we even see this.
I don't know that it is screwed up.
I do. I do.
Okay.
You balance your
That's
accounts.
a bill.
I can't explain it other than somebody, our outside bookkeeper told us that bucks is just screwed up, and she's been saying that this whole time.
Okay.
The fix
All right,
is,
then we won't
And that's
approve
why
it.
we switched to QuickBooks.
So the other thing, if you take a look at the director fees, if you go back to January, you have 0 director fees, you have 0 director fees in February. Then you have $150 director fees in March, and then you have $1,400, and then you have $1,100.
And then it
So
totals
what-
8,500.
So, no, I haven't seen 8,500, but
It's
so it
in
hasn't.
June.
Okay.
Year end,
I didn't see that. I'm looking at 1,100 in June.
year end, not
So
month to
would you
date.
do me a favor, Beverly? Could you write those questions down? and then
Sure
we'll-
did, already gave them to Bill,
Okay.
and you got a response,
for some of them,
most of
but
them.
I wanted to see what the board is looking at.
Oh, no, not maybe 85 was last year, this year was.
Bill has responded to most of them, but some of them have been, I don't know, the bookkeeper should answer that. So my concern is, are you guys really looking at this? You know, are you really delving into this?
We can only look at what they give us, Beverly,
But,
and we hope that,
But
we're
it's your
gonna get good
responsibility
figures
to
on this.
question.
Yes, sir.
okay,
Agreed. And let me real quick correct, it was 2 years ago at year end that it was 8,500. This last fiscal year end, it was 6,450,
what was?
the director compensation.
Okay, yeah, 6450, correct, 85 the year prior, you are correct.
Yeah, I reviewed most of this.
So the other thing I noticed, you know, you guys, I believe it was last month, moved to cut your salaries because you're trying to save. So when I look at this, I'm looking, where else can we possibly save? Or what else might be a problem? So I look at your banking fees. They fluctuate from $1,000 to $6,000. It's like, oh my gosh, why are we paying $6,000 for finance banking fees? It just seems that's an area that maybe we can investigate.
Well, according to this, it says that the banking and maintenance fees for the whole year was
Yeah,
$42,256.
yes.
What is that?
Exactly, exactly. I'm questioning everything, Erwin, and that's what the board has to do. We have to question everything. It could be that it's just this cotton picking program just stinks to high heaven.
This is the old program, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's the old one.
That's the end of the old program.
that's the last one.
But that's something that we need to have either the finance committee or somebody go in and look at. That's one of the things that bothers me. The other is, there's a debt service interest expense, and the total for the year so far is $141,000. Did we ever come up with what that was?
No, but I'm pretty sure, as I responded to, that has something to do with our, the water treatment plant loan.
And so we pay $141,000 in interest a year.
No.
I don't know about,
Oh, my God.
Mm-mm.
I don't know about all of it.
So so when I look at this, all I can do is shake my head, just shake my head. Anyways, I think that was pretty much it with some of it. Okay, I just very disappointed.
Just as long as he's got the questions, and we're gonna get the answers.
Well, I
Oh.
would like you guys to get the answer.
Yes, that's.
You know, he responded to
No,
the
we
board.
want everybody to have the answers.
Correct.
That's the idea here.
Right,
But
You
it's
know,
your
it's not just
responsibility.
us, it's the community.
correct, and that's why I brought it up. Okay,
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna then bring this back to the board, and we have the consent agenda that we need to address, and then we also have the activity reports. Which you want to work on first?
Consent. It's
Consent?
easier.
All right, let's see, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the
Okay.
consent.
We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Now let's address the activity reports. This is something that needs to go back to Bill, and it needs to come back to us with answers to some of the questions that Beverly proposed, and to see about cleaning this up. Part of the problem we have with this is part of the old software system, and it's hard to identify some of these figures. Been trying to do that for several years now, as Beverly knows, and a lot of other people know. And it's been tough to do, because it's hard to find out what it is. We are switching to QuickBooks now, and theoretically, that's gonna help things because we have more line items to be able to identify more items that we can see what they are, whether they're appropriate or they're not. So that's the goal here, to do that, to be able to do it better and to be able to identify these items. And hopefully we will be doing that with QuickBooks. So at this time, then, what we'll do with this is set this table this,
Yes.
I would imagine, and send it back to Bill. And we're still looking for the audit. The audit is due in November, right? So any audit will look at this year.
Let's ask one more question.
Go ahead.
Activity reports from July on, are they coming soon? Okay, so we'll have a better snapshot of what's really happening. I hope. Good.
Okay.
And auditor's report, did you
Yeah.
just say it's still coming?
At the next board meeting.
The auditor's report?
Yeah, in November, we're supposed to get it.
Thank you.
Stand by, we're waiting. Okay, moving on to old business and new business, number 5. The first item on the agenda here is the introduction of our, the new general manager, Mr. Paul Kelly, who is joining us this evening. And, we would like to invite Mr. Kelly to come up and talk a little bit, but you
We have to do the summary first.
Okay, then I will allow you to do that.
All right. At a special meeting, we went into closed session, approved the contract and whatnot, but legal came back and told us we needed to do a summary of benefits compensation in an open meeting, and then also vote in open meeting. So I'll go through the summary. We'll ask Mr. Kelly to come up and speak a little bit. Then we will vote on approving the contract and then sign it. Okay? So, summary. Mr. Kelly coming in as the general manager will have the same benefits as far as, well, you're a CAPRA, but CalPERS, the same health care, dental, vision as any of the employees currently employed here. So there's no change there. Our portion of the PERS retirement is 7.47% of his base salary. His base salary is $136,000 a year. He also will receive $175 a month automobile allowance. Okay? Now, Mr. Kelly has indicated that he is willing to forego the health care, dental, vision for at least the first year. And we will split that savings with him. So the net effect would be to save the district approximately $15,000 a year. Okay? Year 2 on, that's a decision he needs to make with his family. Did I cover everything? I think so. There'll be time for questions after Mr. Kelly's had a chance to speak.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening.
Hello, Mr. Kelly, and welcome to the community.
Thank you, and my name is Paul Kelly, and nice to meet all of you. Nice to be before the board. I obviously had a chance to meet all your board members when we went through an interview process. So a couple of things I'd like to mention that Director McVeigh didn't mention. One of the things that's very standard for community services districts and water districts is to have a specific employment agreement with your general manager. And in looking at this district for quite some time, it appears that hasn't been true. So I think, you know, one of the things that's a benefit of having an agreement, as was spelled out by Director McVeigh, is that it's a known expense both for the district and obviously compensation for myself. So as I mentioned, I'm Paul Kelly, born and raised in Sonoma County. Grew up picking prunes and apples in my area. That's what was the predominant agricultural product, and where I grew up in the country. My wife's family has been farming actually in Sonoma County since the 1860s, and up and for many years they had prunes, now they have grapes, and they have a winery, and they run some cattle and a bunch of other stuff. I served as an elected director of the Sonoma County Water Agency for 16 years, and that's what really sparked my passion for water supply and treatment of water and water infrastructure, and really the delivery to a local community of clean, safe, reliable water supply and in a sustainable manner. I've served on the statewide board of the Association of California Water Agencies and Joint Powers Insurance Agency. One of your little line items you might notice on there as an expense is AQUA/JPIA. They are the provider of insurance to this district and to about 385 districts throughout the state of California. And that really gave me a sense of experience and knowledge on statewide water issues, but also local implementation of water supply challenges and regulatory compliance. Since then, over the last 12 years, I've spent specific time developing my experience and abilities in managing organizations, first for the Bay Area Biosolids to Energy Coalition. So I've got a little experience in the energy arena as well as water, the California Desalination Association, so mostly with treating water, both for some big ocean desal, but mostly in the South Central Valley where salinity issues for water supply and crop health were significant. I've also worked as the City of Vallejo in their Economic Development Department, primarily with infrastructure for water, sewer, and storm drain on Mare Island. And then I was also the general manager of the Hidden Valley Lake Community Services District, which is fairly similar, 2,400 connections, 6,000 residents, a couple of grocery stores and a school, 9 staff, and about a $2.5 million budget. Spent time mostly there, helping them with their budget rates and rate studies, as well as implementing a capital improvement plan for some of their needs. I've also spent a lot of time getting grants and trying to help communities and their service needs. A lot of it in the North Coast Integrated Regional Water Management Planning areas, so included Delaware, Trinity, and Siskiyou County. So really building a lot of my experience in managing the business of running a water agency. So I'm knowledgeable in dealing with the Bureau. I'm knowledgeable of working with groundwater sustainability agencies, as well as managing staff. So I consider myself a business manager in many ways. Experience with grant pursuit and implementing and leading an organization and delivering really our commitment to clean, safe, reliable water supply. As you know, I spent a lot of time in the Siskiyou and Shasta area, mostly recreating. I'm a pretty avid fly fisherman and used to be a hunter. So this is really, to me, an opportunity to be in an area to really use my experience and knowledge to create a more successful district, both leading and managing your organization. Really creating a team and hopefully leveraging the good employees that you have here that are doing a good job, that serve their customers and obviously the residents well. I'm also a 25-year member of Kiwanis Club, serving the children of the world, so key clubs, community cleanups, parades, and more. So I'm a big believer in both charitable activities as well as serving our community and still actually sit on a couple of youth boards. And I'm really, committed to, this district to, not only, really work with your, staff, but with your board as well as the community. And I'm looking forward to being part of the community. So, with that, I thank, the board for, the agreement. I will, mention that it was a little frustrating for it to take 2.5 months. I think as I've communicated to the chair and Director McVeigh, making sure that the district is protected with this agreement is really one of my primary purposes for making sure it gets done. And obviously, it provides me with the management tool and the authority to be your general manager. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the audience?
Let me clarify one, two things I did forget.
Oh, go ahead.
As far as benefits, Mr. Kelly can accrue as much as 60 days of sick leave, but no more than that. He will receive 10 days, 2 weeks of vacation a year, and 40 hours of annual leave a year. Okay? The annual leave does not roll over or accrue. He gets a max of 40. At the end of the year, if there's something left over, it goes away and he starts over. Okay? What? Annual leave, administrative leave.
You read that?
There's no cash value to it, just like the sick leave, there's no cash value.
You had mentioned before that he's currently working with a consultant. Is that terminated? Are you coming straight to us, or do we have to hire through this consultant right now, or?
No, this employment agreement is.
That was our other candidate.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Sorry about that.
Well, that's all right. I do have a consulting business, and I have, been as a consultant, but this agreement is, I will be an employee of the district, and it calls for me to dedicate my full time.
Sandy, you had a question?
Yeah, what experience have you had with the Bureau of Reclamation?
Yeah, I've, combination of experience. I actually, literally, it's been 10 years ago when I actually met the Bureau and took a tour of the whole Whiskey Town Lake facility, as well as their other facilities, mostly with their Sacramento office. And I've also had experience with them on the federal level with their commissioner. Met back in the day, it was Mitch Connor. We did get a grant from them for one of my districts down in the Bay Area for a recycled water project in Pipeline. I've also worked a lot with the Corps of Engineers in the past, but obviously this is mostly the Bureau. So, there's, different hopscotching of different experiences, but I'm knowledgeable with them and have worked with them in the past.
Were you involved in the cleanup of Bear Island?
I was involved a little bit in the cleanup of Mare Island. It's, I can't, if you're familiar with Mare Island, that was a naval base that started in 1858. It was the first military installation in the United States on the West Coast. The Navy decommissioned that in the mid-90s. As I like to say, the military buried and put things wherever the hell they wanted to put it. And when they left, they didn't leave any as-built.
Yeah.
My son-in-law, Remedy Engineering, has been very involved in the cleanup. And now it's a subdivision, I understand?
It's getting closer. There's portions of it that have been redeveloped, and that was what I had worked on. There are other portions of it that are still cleaned up. Thanks to the good work of Remedy. At one time, there were 700 cleanup sites when they left. There are now 7. And so there's actually 2 significant private companies that do marine repair work, and they cleaned up areas that they have.
Do you write grants?
I do not write the particulars of the grant. I am overseeing a lot of grant writing. I have filled out the grant applications, and will most likely be doing that for the district, on behalf of the district. So I guess the reason why I said I'm not a grant writer, I guess, for want of a better term, but, even one of the primary responsibilities I had in Vallejo was to apply for Economic Development Administration grant for an infrastructure assessment on Mare Island, and we got $1 million grant for that, and I filled out all that grant. So, but that's different as a representative of the agency to apply for the grant than a grant writer. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But.
Yeah, I understand that, I know it's hard to get them.
Yeah.
You drive a backhoe?
No.
And somebody with their hand up in the back.
Pam, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Is he going to be in the union as the contract now reads?
No.
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 Great.
Is this a salary position? Or
Yes.
salary?
Yeah.
Will you get overtime?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
No, one of the things that is the reason why, the industry standard, for really all water districts west of the Mississippi, is for your general managers to have an employment contract to specific for that reason. One of the reasons. But what that means is that when we budget for the district, you know exactly what it costs, and you don't have to worry about fluctuations of added costs.
Will you get snow days? You're gonna give them snow days?
It's a joke, it's a joke.
No, our last director had
It's a
snow
joke,
days.
explain to you later.
Then you can switch with other people in the office here. So they
He
can have
doesn't
vacation.
know about that.
We still wonder what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll get him a snowmobile.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, I got one question
Have
in
you
the back.
moved to this area?
A big pardon?
Have you
I
moved to
will
this
be,
area?
I will be living in the area. As I mentioned before, I have a lot of time up here as mostly as a vacationer, and I have access to a place which I will eventually purchase. I'm a big believer that the general manager that worked in different districts shouldn't necessarily live within the specific district, but I will be reasonably close by.
We should announce that his start date will be October 31st.
If there's no further questions, I guess the next.
I'd like to point out one.
Yeah, please, go right ahead.
The way I understand, Mr. Kelly, I think you've been a past president of the APA.
Yeah.
And I want to be sure that the audience understands perhaps what that means. And I believe we were also going to discuss his attendance to the conference. Is that part of the agenda?
That can be part of the agenda, absolutely. Sure.
He's already registered, he already has
Yeah, he
accommodations.
Mr. Kelly is quite active in Aqua. As perhaps most of the audience knows, we belong to Aqua, and the reason we belong there is because we take advantage of their excess insurance, and we get a good rate on that. And that's why we belong. We've never really had a close relationship with Aqua, but Aqua can do things for water districts that need to get done. And Mr. Kelly has a close relationship with Aqua and can help us in that regard, I believe.
And the other item that you had listed someplace that I read was the Rural Water Association. Could you explain that?
Yeah, could you explain that one?
Yeah, there's an organization called the California Rural Water Association. Actually, somebody I know well is currently the chair of that. Lives just south of Alturas. Bill Massey is his name. They also provide, resources and help to local rural water districts. In some cases, we may be able to take advantage of some of their training that they provide for our operators, and our line and distribution, folks. So there's just elements of there. They also, I've already been talking to them in preparation for taking this job, to see if there's some ways they can help us with, maybe writing grants or writing letters of support for grants. I think that's the other element of being active in the Statewide Association of California Water Agencies is, getting some of their help, for whether it's grant or other things, not just the insurance, which is obviously significant. The Association of California Water Agencies breaks itself up into regions. We would be in Region 2. Bella Vista is actually currently fairly active in this region, so I think having some more activity as it relates to that. And really, one of the benefits, there's only heartache and pain and suffering for being chairing a 42-member board of the association. But you do get my registration taken care of, so at no expense to the district, I can go to this conference.
Oh, hooray, that's good.
Have the registration paid for.
Yeah, there you go.
And really, since we are a member of the JPIA, I know Andy Sells, who's the current administrator of that, and would like to go to because they have their meetings at the same time. I actually sat on that board for a short period of time, just to make sure that they're taking care of our district.
Good.
So can we open this to the public for any comments about attendance and then approve this?
Yeah, well,
After public comment, we need to do a public vote.
yeah, we need to do a public vote
Okay.
and then sign the
And then
contract.
sign. Correct.
So if there are no other questions or comments from the audience, we'll bring it back to the board and we'll do just that. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for I'm glad to see you here. Okay, so now the board needs to ratify the contract that we did in closed session, so the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
And we need a second.
Second.
And we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And so that, we formally, have hired Mr. Kelly to be our, general manager starting on October 31st.
Now, if you look at the contract, the start date is left blank. We have to fill in.
We'll fill in that.
On all 3 copies.
Okay.
All right.
Should we do that after the meeting?
So is there an issue there?
Today's date would be the date you put in the top, right? Because that's the day you
The entered
approved it.
into, yes, the date it's entered into, correct.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
The start date is clearly in the
Today's date.
agreement. You don't.
Oh, is it down there?
So you just write
Yeah.
the 19th.
19th, right, on all 3
Yeah,
copies of
October
the time.
31st.
Right, so it is 19th day of October.
I'm already having to work, helping out.
Okay, my
You better get used to that.
I will sign my name here.
There are 3 copies of the contract, one for Mr. Kelly, one for his file here, and one will go to legal.
Me and Mr. McVeigh and Mr. Kelly.
Right, so go ahead and pass that, Mr. Chairman, and then we'll just hand him the sign first, use the 3, and after you sign, Erwin, you can send it over to me.
Yep. Okay, there we are. Okay, very good. Thank you, Paul.
The third one, right, I gave it to you, they're there. Is that it there?
Must be it.
Okay. So, and right, you need to hand that to my son. Yeah. Okay, there's 2 done. I will remove that.
All right, very good. Okay,
No, my mom is out of water.
okay, were you all set? Yes. Okay, come down, everybody. One last time. Still out of order?
Yeah.
Hold on.
One last comment on hiring a, general manager. According to Sandy, this is the first time in the history of this district that we have negotiated, developed a contract to hire a general manager. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yeah, we had a lot of them step in.
Pretty sad.
Yeah, our very first
Not
one was
anymore.
Art Merrifield, and he was the one that, really negotiated for the, putting in the distribution system and getting the water from the Bureau. He worked hard, but he was the first manager because they didn't have anybody else that was qualified. And, then his health got bad, and then they hired another manager from CH2 Hill. And that didn't work out. Oh, no, we had a manager that had come here to work on the pipeline. And he ended up being manager, but that was not successful either.
That was Arlen, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I did. And, then we hired a manager from the Verde Water District who had been fired. And 7 months later, we fired him. 2 board members fired him. Then we had
Dick Urban.
yeah, that was,
Anyway, we now have a proper general manager.
All right, we're gonna move on to item number 5B. And 5B is signer on accounts, check signer, discussion and action item. Bill, you wanna carry the narration on this?
We're requesting, the directors consider the addition of another director to sign checks. There's currently 3, but with schedules and, you guys get busy and sometimes can't make it here. It would be convenient if there was another, a 4th.
I would like to nominate Scott McVeigh.
We have a nomination, Scott McVeigh. Is there a motion to appoint Scott McVeigh as a second time?
We gotta make a motion first.
First signer? Okay, and second, would you second it?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any comment from the public on the signer?
A little late now.
Well, it may not have changed anything. You don't need a signer.
Did you do a background check?
Yeah.
Who are the other 2 signers?
What's that?
Who are the other 2 signers?
I'm one, and Patricia Delzell is another.
And Johanna Trenary.
And Johanna Trenary. We're just trying to get enough people to be here to get these checks signed when they need to be signed.
Well, I know that they need to be signed, but the process that got us into this problem was that the directors.
Could you come up? I'm having trouble.
We should buy you a hearing aid.
you can get them over the counter now.
The problem that we got in this big mess that we've been in and fighting for 2 years is that the directors would sign it without reading them. And so, it really needs to be clear to the directors that they need to take this quite seriously and review what they're signing.
I do.
Agreed.
Now, I can look through what I signed to make sure that you know.
And I question them.
Okay. All right, item number 5C, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation account reconciliation. And this is a discussion item only. And Bill, if you bring this to our attention?
Yes. We received an email from the Bureau stating that they've completed an account reconciliation. They went out to 2004. They've produced 4 invoices that were not paid, and the amount we owe is $54,000 according to the email, but the total of the invoices is more. We are in conversations with them to help us understand the issue, still talking to them to figure out what fee these are for. I've not heard back. But the 2 invoices from 2021, we've never seen them, and we're pretty sure we didn't pay them. And, but we are able to set up a payment arrangement when the time comes. So we don't have to pay the whole amount once, because it was their oversight too.
You have to pay it all at once?
No, I said we don't.
Oh, okay.
So the 2 invoices, it was in the packet, were both from August of last year, one for 5,700 plus, the other for 8,900 plus. And every indication is that we did not pay those invoices, whether we received them or not. My concern was with the others from 2016, historic reconciliations from 2004 to 2013, and then 3 years later, then they're coming up with basically $51,000 they want from us for those 2 invoices. And I'm concerned that, what proof do they have that we owe the money? And then maybe we need to do some research to find out if we hadn't paid some. Having looked at this also, I noticed that some of the indicators on some categories, was it 0489F showed up on both of the 2 invoices. The first one for 21,000 plus had that listed only, and the second one had 5 different categories, the same number, just a different letter at the end of it. I was curious as to why there were those different ones, and is this actually water that we received and didn't pay for?
0489 is our contract number,
So that's the contract number.
and the F, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
But it could be storage fees, it could be a transfer fee, it could be a bunch of different things. I don't know.
The only transfers we had was the Pride McConnell Foundation, I thought, purchasing. That
I
was
was just saying, it could be.
no, well, we're going back in history, back to the 2004 to 2013 time frame.
Yeah,
I don't believe we had transfers then.
I'm hoping to have more to report, or call the report.
Okay, so this is discussion only,
Correct.
but obviously we owe the latter 2. But yeah, definitely want to know more about these first 2 before we even consider sending any money.
Absolutely.
Erwin, you've got 2 hands up.
Okay. Could you come up, please? Thank you.
Is there no,
Name first.
Joanne Bloomquist, is there no, you can hear me, or when I'm yelling loud.
I can't hear you through that.
You can't hear us without the masks.
I can't hear you through that. Hate to say that, but I can't hear you through that.
There are now hearing aids you can get over the counter.
Harbor Freight sells them.
Is there no statute of limitation on their billing? I mean, how can they go back?
I believe they changed software and they're trying to get their numbers from the old software to populate into the new software. That was what the reconciliation was, and now they're deciding to bill us this
Well,
month.
and that goes back to my question, is there no statute of limitation on what they can bill that for? How can we come up with the proof when you're asking 20 years ago for us to prove something? I
I
mean,
understand that, that's
Yeah,
why
I
we're not
understand
paying it
that
right
too.
away.
This is not the first time something like this has happened with the Bureau. Yes, sir?
So I had a question, Skip and the board bought, was it 2013 or 14, we bought McConnell Water the first time?
It was later than-
We bought Chicago water several times, but
Okay.
back in 2013, 14, in that area, we did, yes.
Could this be part of the service fees on that, or the transfer
Well,
fees?
that's a good question. Don't know. That's what we need to find out.
Because, we didn't really use all the water, but we ended up with a big bill on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with McConnell, you would sign a contract to purchase it, whether you use it or not, you pay
Yeah.
for it.
We had one year where we had to purchase it by the end of February, and it was dry, very dry. And, so we made the decision to purchase it, and then it began to rain in March. And as it turned out, we wound up spending $200,000 for water we didn't really need.
Was there transfer fees on top of that? We could have put additional fees to the board or the bureau?
Not from McConnell.
No,
No,
from the bureau
zero.
though. Does the bureau charge us when we get McConnell water?
No.
To transfer it? Okay.
So the answer would be no to that, so this has to be other fees, possibly water purchases. I can't think of much more that they can charge us. You said something about storage fees potentially.
Yeah, there's other fees we get charged, I don't know what they are. It could have been, CVP, it could have been, it could have been a bunch
The
of
restoration fees.
restoration fee.
Ah,
It could have been water.
This goes back to 2004.
yes.
We didn't transfer any water back in 2004. We had enough.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
So
water.
it may be
So-
something else.
They need to then provide us with invoices
They're working on, yep.
with exactly what this is supposed to be.
This is not no surprise to me at that one. Ever.
So, Beverly, so Bill, we had a surplus with the Bureau, and we used that on the Win Act, and they could not explain to us why they had this extra money. Did we ever get that figured out, why we had extra money on the books? Is this possibly associated with that? You used it to pay on the Win Act?
Overpaid, and then we're holding about, what, 190,000 or more?
Yeah, I guess, I don't, the credit that was used towards the Win Act was an accumulation of a bunch of different things. I don't remember what the breakdown there was, but that was money we got to use towards the Win Act obligation. And so there wasn't a whole lot of, issue with that at the time.
Right, but it just seems odd, here we had this surplus,
Yeah.
and now they're coming back for $54,000.
Right.
Yep.
Not giving us any water that we used to have.
We had a question, if you total up these two invoices, they actually run around 66, so it's kind of odd they're only asking for 54. So those are things that will need to be, investigated.
This is a discussion item to talk about this at this time. We need to find out more information on it, and that's what we're doing.
My understanding of the minutes was that what they did was that they adjusted our bill in our favor, and they reduced that amount that was on the bill. So we didn't owe as much as they originally asked for.
No, we still owe the same amount, it's just configured differently. So the equals will still equal $860,000.
Well, they did discount this a bit. They started out
Oh, maybe.
almost $900,000 and it came down to $825,000. Anyway.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else about this, issue? It'll come back to us once we get some questions answered. Yes, ma'am.
Emily Rankin, I'm just gonna say, Bill, that 57,000 rings a bell to me. That would have been August of 2021, if that was what was on that.
No, the 57,000 is, it's on the packet's online, but it's several different invoices, going all the way back to 2014.
Yeah, several invoices.
Okay.
4 of them.
You can have that.
Never mind then.
And, we're gonna find out, hopefully, and find out.
If you want that, you can have it.
So shall we move on to the next item? Next item is 5D, labor negotiations, announcement, discussion, action. At the last, meeting that we had on the 13th, I believe it was, we had a closed session item to talk about labor negotiations. At that time, Mr. Jones was working out of town. You did not attend that meeting. And we felt that in order to move labor negotiations along, we needed an alternate person to be able to sit on that negotiating team, if you will, to be able to meet with the employees and the labor negotiator, whenever it could come together. And sometimes, if Mr. Jones is out of town, there may not be that opportunity. So we decided that it would be a good idea to have an alternate, and the suggestion was the alternate would be Mr. Scott McVeigh. And so what we want to do here today is we want to ratify that decision by a formal vote. Before we do that, is there any question or comment from anyone from the audience? If not, we'll bring it back to the the board, and the chair would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. McVeigh as the alternate to the negotiating team, which is made up of myself and Mr. Jones at this time. That allows Mr. Jones, if he's out of town, to be able for us to be able to move forward with negotiations.
And I would like to, make a motion to nominate Scott McVeigh.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Not opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McVeigh. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
And I will make the comment that what I have done is that I have returned to work on a full-time basis. I am not able to leave my job duties once I start one. And currently I am in between assignments. I have a tentative date from one of my employers. I probably have another, which is perhaps immediately available. One is in town and the other is out of town. Thank you.
All right, at this time,
No closed session.
what's that?
No closed session.
Well, we're supposed to go into closed session unless there is any reason to do so.
Nothing new.
No, okay, then we'll forget closed session. So we'll move on to item number 7, which is operations report. Bill, if you could catch us up to date on what's been going on with the district.
Of our current customer accounts, there are 250 delinquent accounts. These past due amounts total $32,395. Some of the accounts have a small balance contributing to the total. Some of the accounts are accruing the $10.81 minimum on empty properties that are several years behind. 44 customers.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you speak a little slower and a little louder so the audience can hear?
44 customers received overage penalties, totaling $7,650. That was before adjustments. What's new in the EAGSA is that we submitted a proposal to the management committee regarding the cost sharing issue for the GSP. There was a meeting today, it says Tuesday, but it should have been today, and we were really the only ones pushing for there to be a different cost sharing than the 6-way split. And so it's the recommendation going to the EAGSA board will be keep it the same. Excuse me. I tried. The auditors let us know that a draft report will be ready for the November board meeting.
I missed.
We met with InPlan, so this is distribution report. We met with InPlan and Pace Engineering and walked the 3 separate pipeline alignments for the distribution system improvement project. We're waiting to hear back in regards to how the project will impact waterways and roadside ditches. At the treatment plant, our district used 214 acre feet, and we currently have 375 acre feet of the McConnell water left, and we did not use the wells. The Bureau has forced us to draw water from the bottom elevation only, and they have increased the spill into the creek from 150 CFS to 200 CFS. And if the flow would be reduced to 150 CFS, then we could utilize the upper elevation draw, which is better for water quality. The transfer switch controller was replaced and programmed, for the, on the generator, and we ran the generator, on load for several hours to test out timers and automatically switching back and forth to group power. We were working on drying out the middle pond, which is pond 2. This pond is difficult to dry out because the upper pond and possibly the lake seep into this pond. And so we have pumps in there that send the water, the seepage, down to the lower pond to help dry out the sludge. We will not dispose of the sludge until there is more accumulation. And we have repairs to do in that pond on the floating decanter. The backwash pond repair project, the general, technical, environmental, and financial checklists have been approved, and everything is being routed to DFA management. And we're hoping to move forward with that in the spring. That's all I have.
Next item on the agenda, standing committee reports. Anything from the finance committee?
Well, a question for Bill in reference to, are you intending to start operating the wells again shortly? I know we have 375 acre feet left, and it'd be nice to blend that through. We have until February 28th to use that.
Yeah.
Because we pay for it whether or not. But my concern with the budget is we budgeted in a certain amount of well water also in that blended rate that we're charging customers. And for us to bring in a balanced budget, we're gonna need to be moving some of that well water to help balance it off, I do believe. Can you tell? I know I'm.
So you said this doesn't make sense, so you want us to use the more expensive water?
No. I expect us to use the water, but built into the budget is a certain amount, a certain number of acre feet of well water also.
What would you suggest we do if our demand could be met entirely from the water treatment plant from here to February?
Well, we run out prior to the end of February.
That wasn't the question. The question was.
What's the question?
I'm looking at it from a budget standpoint.
I'm looking at it from an operations standpoint.
I understand.
Scott, I need to hear that question again. Can you ask that question again?
If our demand can be met entirely from the water treatment plant, how are we supposed to operate the wells?
If it can be, then it should be, because.
Yeah, we
we're
need
paying
to
for that
use
water.
that water.
My only concern is trying to balance the budget with.
I understand what you're trying to say,
Right.
but what you're trying to say is to get the customers to use more water.
No,
We
not
have to
necessarily.
But if the demand is met entirely from the water treatment plant, where's that well water gonna go?
I'm looking at the historic, water usage from the last few years in the December, January, February, and it looks like you're gonna be able to use more than the 375. So I'm hoping that we can supplement that with some of the well water to meet the demand. And then in the first 4 months of the next water year, be able to lay more on well water so that we meet that budget requirement, and any purchase through a transfer with McConnell or somebody else, we save for the warmer months.
Yeah, and we're also using surface water right now for water quality reasons.
I understand that.
So,
No, I understand your aspect. I'm looking at it from a slightly different point of view.
so for right now, we're gonna keep using the water treatment plant
Fair enough.
for water quality reasons.
Sure.
Thank you.
How much water have we lost from the breaks on
Would you say that again?
How much water have we lost from the breaks here recently, last few months?
I answered that question last month.
Yeah.
Well, we had a
2
big break.
million gallons?
A few, 6 acre feet maybe, 12 acre feet total. I don't remember.
Have we had breaks since the last one that was reported?
We had one break on Coyote. That was I think that's the only.
Across from my house.
Yeah, Coyote and, yeah, sorry.
On Coyote.
As far as the,
I'm still finance committee, right?
yes,
Okay. Are we gonna schedule a mid-year budget review for early
yes,
next year?
we will, because this board voted to have a mid-year budget
Right.
review. So
So,
we will have a mid-year budget.
will we be
review.
able to calendar that fairly soon then?
of January.
Okay. Fair enough.
Can that be a 6 o'clock meeting, please?
Beg pardon?
Can that be a 6 o'clock meeting?
Yes, it would be a regular meeting.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. We need a mid-year budget review. Tried to get that for many years, we've not been able to do it, now we have it. And we will do it. Now, we've come to the point on the agenda for public comment. Anyone else care to speak about anything that we just heard on the agenda, anything that we need to put on the agenda? Yes, sir. Well, I think, Sally? Sally had her hand up. If you could come up to the podium, please.
I just want to say that we're trying to bring the ag reports for the.
Loud, I can't hear you.
Planning on putting the ag reports.
Please.
This month, so we expect to get crop reports, and to please pay attention to the fact that it says acres instead of each individual trees. This is really hard, we have to break down by how many acres you are supplying for the trees, your crops, or whatever, okay? I already got one from somebody that just had check. That tells me nothing, you know, so we have to gather all these crop reports together, we have to run a tally for each crop, you know, and then, but it's gotta be in acres. So I think, you know, pay attention to what it's actually asking for, and don't give me one tree, you know.
Sally, is anybody actually irrigating enough to raise anything? A whole acre?
Well,
I got Ken that needs irrigating, but it has zero.
I know, but the way I understand it is we still need to fill them out and pass them into the bureau,
Yeah.
so that we still have that
It
earmark.
shows zero.
Yeah, right. So, it's important, you know, that's why you're on the ag committee. Or go to the ag committee.
Yeah, we had a meeting tonight.
Yeah, you know, but it's really makes a big difference, otherwise I don't have to call you and say, okay, so do you agree with this, and that, is this my assumption, you know, I have to assume a lot to get that together. And, you know, please fill them out.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your effort. Now, Dennis, please. Hello, Dennis.
Dennis, O'Sallin, and, I'm up here to talk to Bill. Bill, thank you for everything you've done, filling in, the problems and sketching everything, sketch going, and there's vacancy, and you jumped in, and, we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Bill has done an excellent job. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
We're gonna erect a statue out in front of you.
Call it the Alma Mesa Memorial Water District?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marisol. I want to apologize because I was supposed to come up here from the beginning. This is the first time that I'm here. I had two fines in my bill. One, that was because of my pool wasn't evaporating the water, but it looks like I have a leaking. I took a video and pictures of that. And Sally came even to my house and looked at it, and she's the one that helped me find the leak on my pool. But I want to see if, they told me that I could come here to see if I can, take the fines out of my bill for,
Well, here again, we can't do anything on that now. What you have to do is get together with Bill in the office during some day, and, we need to have that formally on the agenda as an item
Correct.
to look at.
okay.
So just talk to Bill about it and we'll get it on the agenda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sally can help you fill out the paperwork.
Anyone else? This is your opportunity. All right. And if that's the case, we're left with one item on the agenda, and that is to adjourn. Thank you all for coming.
Order, that way you can say, give a chance to make sure we read.